now. And the recording, a workshop evaluation, and any resource links will be provided to you in a few days. If you would like a certificate of attendance, we'll also include that, and it will be sent through the email that you registered under. But if you do want a certificate of attendance to support a PLU request, just wait to be prompted at the end of the session to add your name and email to the chat. I do see some of the names coming up, so I can cross-reference registration, but there are a few Google Pixel. I'm not quite sure who that is, so I want to make sure that everybody who needs that will get it. Okay, so without further ado, so just so that you know too, everything that Janelle references in here about resources, that is going to be sent with you. So if you can't follow it, she's going to put some things in the chat that will be sent out to you. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Janelle Tay, health educator, curriculum designer, and founder of Project School Wellness.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you are doing well. It is still morning on the East Coast, yes. I am Janelle, coming to you from California today. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. If everyone can mute, that would, yeah, thank you so much. So we're talking today about a framework for teaching skills-based health in elementary. As Karin said, I'm Janelle. Oh, sorry. I am the founder of Project School Wellness, so I design curriculum, and this year I also have the privilege of teaching elementary, middle, and high school health. And the last 3 years have been my introduction to elementary, starting in PE, and then health the last 2 years. And it has been so cool to teach elementary health. It is something that like totally shifted how I had to shift how I thought about teaching. And now that I've been doing it for a few years, I can confidently say that teaching elementary health has made me a better teacher at all other ages. So I think that what you're doing is so cool. It's yeah, such an interesting age and a lot going on. So we're going to explore how we can teach elementary health, how we can teach more elementary health more efficiently, effectively. Um, so we're going to start with a check-in. So if you just want to drop in first part of the check-in, drop in the chat what grades you teach and what topics, themes you're focusing on right now. Also, if you're able to, it would be wonderful if you could turn your camera on. It helps just give a little bit more feedback so I can check in and just helps us feel a little bit more together in this space. So yeah, go ahead and in the chat, let us know what grades you teach and what topics you have going on right now. And then also I'm going to put in a link for the handouts. And so, yeah, okay, fitness skills, very cool. Um, Love that. Yeah, let us know what you've got going on, what grade you're teaching, and what what your topic is. So I can add this for myself too. My elementary is we've been talking about trusted adults. Uh-oh, feelings. All right, injury and violence prevention, um, health in relation to nutrition, trusted adults. Oh, that's what I wrote. Um, Fitness skills. Yeah, so just drop that in there. Personal hygiene. Yeah, that's a critical one. Very important. Yeah. Okay, so along with our check-in, I like to start each session where we actually take a moment to intentionally choose to check into a space. And that's just a moment for us to say, yeah, I'm here. I'm here physically, emotionally, mentally. I'm choosing to be engaged. So all this is on the count of three. You're going to unmute and you're going to say your name and checking in. So it'll sound like Janelle checking in. Okay, so on the count of three, everyone's gonna unmute and you're just gonna say your name, checking in. Sound good? All right, 1, 2, 3.
Checking
Janelle.
in.
Karen
Okay, we're
checking
checking
in.
in.
Checking in.
Annery checking in.
Good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So again, want to make sure you have want to make sure you have the handouts. Um, and so the link, I'll drop the link again just in case it got lost. And then Karin will also send it out later on. And on the handout, any resource we talk about today, any lesson plan I share today is available for free, provided from Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition. So that is a big benefit that they're providing to you as being registered for this. Just ask that you keep that for yourself as it's connected with your registration. So let's dive in. Let's look at our big question here. What do elementary students need to know now so they can use the health skills as they grow up? Right? Basically, what can we do as elementary health teachers to build these fundamental building blocks of health so that students can actually manage their health as they grow up, right? Specifically looking at the health skills that are outlined in the National Health Education Standards. So build and apply functional knowledge, analyzing influences, accessing resources, utilize interpersonal communication skills, make healthy decisions, set health goals, self-management, and advocate for self and others. So what's so interesting about health education, especially specifically elementary health education, is that these are really big skills that take a lot of time to learn how to do well. And so our job as elementary health teachers is how do we take how do we take the most core basic fundamental aspects of these skills and like start building that foundation when they are young. So that's the challenge, that's the balance, right? That's the challenge. And then also, as health teachers, we have very specific health issues we are teaching students about. As you said, we said nutrition, hygiene, violence and injury prevention, fitness skills, all of these things. So how does that content relate to these skills? And that's what our question is, right? That's what we're going to look at. So how can we stay grounded in these skills from the standards while being able to address the very vital health themes and concepts and topics that our students are going to deal with in their life? So, what my hope for today is to share a framework for teaching elementary health. So, basically, I'm going to share kind of the process that I use to design resources that are ultimately laying that foundation so that students can manage their well-being as they go forward. So, also hopefully going to show how you can kind of create a through line with every health issue you teach. So whether it be trusted adults or hygiene or nutrition or fitness skills, how do we create a through line that kind of brings everything back to this understanding of health so that students can connect the pieces and they can understand how all these things work together to determine their well-being. So any questions, anything, you can unmute or drop something in the chat. I have the chat open here so I can see it. And yeah, any questions. I know it's always a balance in teaching health. How do we balance the skills with the content? And hopefully I'm going to show you how we can do that in a way that's very that's engaging and meaningful for students. So let's look at this framework. So the first part of this framework that I use is that everything is grounded in the BEST model. And we're going to talk about what the BEST model is in a moment. It's a health framework. So everything is grounded. We start there. We ground whatever we're doing in the BEST model. Then we take simple elements of really big concepts and focus on those simple elements, on what our students can actually manage at this age, at this time in their life. Then we are focused on hands-on learning experiences. This has been the thing that has in elementary, like everything's got to be hands-on. You can't just talk to them. Also, I really appreciate how they can't really hide that they don't understand something in the same way that older kids can, or they can't they don't really tend to opt out in the same way. I'm sure we have some students. Um, Oh, fire safety. Thank you for sharing that. Um, and so keeping things hands-on, keeping things interactive, and then it's just like repeating again and again and again. So we have this idea of grounding something in the best model and simple elements, and we just repetition. Students have to engage with something so often. And that to me was one of the biggest changes when I started teaching elementary health. I was like, whoa, they really don't know anything. Not in a bad way, that's just the reality of their age. And we have to teach them all of these all of these, well, not just skills, we have to teach them all of this knowledge that when you're teaching middle and high school, they already have years of functional knowledge being built. And so it's a different ball game. And so I'm going to share 4 examples of how I use this structure or this framework to structure elementary health. Now, before we do that, we have to look at the best model. So the best model is an example of a health framework. A health framework is kind of like a map showing us what a healthy life looks like. It's that big picture. It gives us kind of clarity about, oh, this is what it means to be healthy. Whereas the health skills are like the GPS, the directions, showing us how to live a healthy life. So health framework, common health frameworks we might use are the wellness wheel. This one has 10 dimensions of health. Some of them might have 8, some of them might have 6, but this sort of structure or a health triangle. Then for Project Schoolness, our signature health framework is called the BEST model, and basically divides well-being into 4 easy to remember simple elements that are an acronym for BEST. So B, body, our physical body. E, our environment, our surroundings, the spaces we live our life in. S, self, so our internal being, our emotions, our mental health, our purpose, our values. And then ties, our social ties, our friendships, our relationships, our community, our connection. And so students the last 2 years, we've been using this, students have been responding really, really well because it's so easy to remember. The word BEST is super easy to remember because it's an acronym. All of my students from, kindergarten to high school, they can quickly recall what these elements of our well-being are. Body, environment, self, social ties. Whereas something like the wellness wheel, really comprehensive. I love that it really gets into these different areas of our life. It's very important, but it's really hard to remember. Even after 15 years, I'm like, trying to like count, okay, there's 10, and then I have to go look because I'm always forgetting something. And so it doesn't really work well as a check-in for students. Um, and then it's just the best model is just a little bit more comprehensive than the triangle. And then with the word, the other thing about the word best is that it elicits an emotion, not where there's never pressure to be perfect or elite or like, this reach these high levels. It's really just about, yeah, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to work to make my life good. And so it elicits an emotion. And then ultimately it takes this really abstract idea of health and it gives students a tangible definition of well-being. So then when they think about their health and well-being, they have this structure that they can look at, and then everything you do can come back to this, right? Can come back to this. So we look at something like nutrition. And if we're teaching students about nutrition, we can say like, hey, yeah, it's about our body. It fuels our body, but it's also about self because it connects to, food makes us happy. It makes us feel comforted. It's a part of it brings us joy in life. And it's also a huge part of our social ties because we connect with people around food. And then you could even bring in the element of like gardening and the environment and how does food impact the environment, all of these things. So you can take whatever content, and this is another way to help students see how the content we're teaching specifically connects to their life. And that is why the BEST model really is a foundation. And so on the handout, I have a number of resources there for you about the BEST model. There's a BEST model learning stations activity, and that has elementary and middle and high school options. So if you're teaching upper elementary, maybe you want to use the secondary option. And then there's a BEST bookmark and some cootie catcher fortune tellers. So those are some of the resources that are provided for you if you want to use the BEST model as a framework to ground your students' understanding of health. Of course, if you're using something else like the wellness wheel or the triangle, that is great also. This is just another option if you would like it. Okay, so again, our framework, grounded in the BEST model. We know what the BEST model is now. Simple elements of big concepts, hand-on learning, and then repeated again and again and again. So our first example of what this framework might look like in your classroom and in your teaching with students. So our first step is grounded in the best model. So we're going to actually look at just body in general. All right. And our simple element of a big concept, the big concept is body care elements. So these are our body care elements. Body image, the relationship we have with our body, food and nutrition, hygiene, physical activity, whether that be fitness or just general movement, safety, keeping our body safe, and then sleep. So those are some big concepts. And maybe for your older kids, you're going to dive deeper into this, but when we're starting in, the first year that they're getting health, all that they're not necessarily going to dive into all these, but so we can just focus on this idea that we take care of our body. Really simple, right? A simple element of they don't need to necessarily dive into all the ways they take care of their body, but just that idea like, yeah, what I do impacts my body. We take care of our body. All right. Then another big concept is self-management, the skill of self-management. And instead of, doing a deep dive into that because students aren't ready, we're just going to focus on a simple element of the self-management, which is habits. What is a habit? What habits are helpful? Which habits are harmful? What habit connects to different, parts of our best model? And so really simple elements, we take care of our bodies and we have habits. All right, and then that next thing is a hands-on learning experience. So we're gonna look at a picture book. So I love using picture books with students. It is, yeah, they have a great time. It's a great way to bring in different stories, so they're seeing different perspectives, and it's a fun way to explore concepts. So I'll share another when we're doing another activity. I'll share a different book that a Fancy Nancy book that the students, elementary students love. And I'll kind of, if we have time, I'll connect it to that too. Okay, so before I read this, if I was in the classroom, before reading this picture book, students would have a matching activity where they match, and you have a link to this, where they match a body care habit or they match a habit with a body care element. So it's like brushing your teeth, hygiene, um, reading a bedtime story, sleep, things like that. Real simple, but they're getting the idea of what a habit is. And then just talking to them about what a habit is. So I'll read the book one time and they just listen and then refresh on what habits are. And then I'm going to read the book a second time with them. And they are, as we read that second time, that's the book we're going to read. As they read the second time, they are going to raise their hand and identify, oh, that's a habit, or oh, that's this part of how we take care of our body. So while we're reading, you are just going to, in the chat, write down any habit you see being exemplified, all right, or any element of taking care of our body. So this is the book, The Way Champs Play by Naomi Osaka. Really cute book. Um, really pretty, really beautiful illustrations. And oh yeah, just a very cute book. So I'll give you some examples. So I reach up high, I stretch out slow. So that right there is an example of the kid could raise their hand and say, hey, that's an example of physical activity, of stretching, of yoga, starting your day, a habit of starting your day with movement. Okay, so they could raise their hand and say that. In the chat, you could also say something like that. So let's see how many habits you can identify throughout while I read this book. Okay, I reach up high, I stretch out slow, I skip outside, we're on the go. At Play Academy, on the field or court, we get ready for our favorite sport. We love to move, that's why we play. We are champs, we play all day. All right, are we seeing any habits? Let's drop it in the chat if we see some habits. We spring to action, hustle, run. We're energized and having fun. We're chasing dreams. We choose our pace. So hyped we have this chance to race. I love the line there about we choose our pace because that's what a great habit that we are connected to ourselves and we know what works for us. We can push ourselves sometimes, but also it's such a vital skill to just choose our pace and stay in our lane. With every match, we give our all. There's another one, giving our all to see if we can smash the ball. We love the game, that's why we play. We are champs, we play all day. With every kick, we keep things fair, our winning plan to pass and share. And if we miss and fill with doubt, our teammates always help us out. We try again. That's how we learn. We roll up for another turn. We practice with an extra lap, a few more shots, a better snap. Sometimes we're first, sometimes we're third, but we always cheer and use kind words. Oh, yeah, I see some great habits there. We finish strong. That's how we play. We are champs and we play all day. Whew, I take a drink, wipe my brow. We're breaking for some yoga now. So there's some different examples of body care, right? Nutrition and water. Also doing yoga as a form of fitness, a different type of one of the types of fitness. We pause to breathe and meditate, a peaceful, focused, quiet state. I close my eyes, clear my mind, empowered by the calm I find. What makes a champ? It starts within. Be a good sport, a better friend. Champs are honest, they're patient too. Champs show grit in everything they do. We're all champs in our own way. Being yourself is the way champs play. I love that too. Being yourself, being who you are. We make new friends. We did our best. Now it's time to get some rest. My day is done. Pajama, I think I skipped a page. I think I forgot to take one picture. Pajama snug, I move in for a cuddly hug. But then I reach up high, I stretch out slow, because tomorrow at Play Academy we'll go, go, go. Okay, so I love this book to start at the beginning of when we're teaching health, and you all found so many great examples of habits in here, of different aspects of taking care of our body, self-reflection, bedtime routine, practice makes progress, hydration, sportsmanship, kindness, all of this. And so it's so cute when students can raise, they raise their hand, they're making these observations. And we found these habits in the book, right? And then you can, so we had that big, the big concept of self-management and the simple element just of habits. The big concept of all these ways we take care of our body, just, hey, simple, we take care of our body. And so then we can ask students, hey, what are some habits that you have that were in the book? How do you take care of your body like the characters in the book? And they're just making these connections, and it's a hands-on learning. And then now that you have this, now they have this foundation of what a habit is and the idea that we take care of our bodies, we can now repeat that and we can come back to those concepts again and again and again so that they're really understanding, oh yeah, this is a habit. It's helpful because of this, it's harmful because of that. Okay. So example number 2 is going to be all about environment. So we're grounded in the best model. And these are examples of just taking the best model, but you also can, like I said, take any topic that you are talking about and then ground that topic first in the best model and then decide, okay, what elements, how am I going to teach this hands-on? How can I repeat these concepts again and again so students are learning them? So we're looking at environment. So our big concept is analyzing influences. Our simple element is just this idea of feeling, thinking, and acting, and understanding that everything around us impacts how we feel, think, and act. Okay, so our big skill, analyzing influences, that's standard number 2. And again, simple element, understanding that everything around us impacts how we feel, think, and act. So for our hands-on learning, we're going to do a classroom scavenger hunt, really looking at this idea of how does your environment impact how you feel, what you think about, and how you act. So how this activity works, if we were in a classroom, have either I'll have a huge stack of cards for all the students, or I'll have students in groups and they have a stack of cards they're working through, and they are going to take this first one and they're going to go find in the classroom something that they're proud of. And they're going to go on a little scavenger hunt in the classroom, find something they're proud of. They're going to come back and get another card. Okay, somewhere you feel safe and cozy. They're going to go and identify that space in the classroom, come back and get another card. So the purpose here is that they are starting to see like, oh, this classroom impacts how I feel. It impacts what I'm doing. It impacts how I'm acting. All right, so you can just take a second to read through some of these and just drop something in the, either if you want to unmute, you can, or drop something in the, drop something in the comments. And it can be for yourself or your students. So like I'm just, as an example, my desk is a mess right now, but I read, oh, I don't know if you can see it with it's blurred. This is something I just happen to have right here by my desk. This is a race bib from the Disneyland 5K my mom and I did. So this is something that makes me proud because my mom's not a big runner, but she came and did this with me. She flew from Texas, did this 5K. Last year we did the 10K, and it makes me feel really proud of her and proud and happy that we could do that together. So that's something in the environment that's influencing how I feel, right? And what I'm thinking about those memories. So go ahead and let's try to identify something that either you think your students would say or what you would say. Something that makes you smile, pictures of your dog. I love that. And that's why we put pictures up, right? That's so cool. And maybe we could think about our class space and like what's something you have in your class that's, impacting how your students feel, think, and act. Something that annoys you. They stand next to another student. Yeah, that's, we got to be real. Sometimes there's, there's feelings that aren't necessarily the positive feelings. Um, Stay on task, index cards. Yeah, what else do we have? Like, this is what we create. I think a lot of us in our classrooms, we create space intentionally, hoping that there's going to be, elicit specific feelings, thoughts, emotions, and actions. Mm, hot cup of tea helps you feel cozy. Yeah, I know. Special things that that students bring into PE for their teachers. I know students can be so sweet, right? Hope you have a space you can keep them, or yeah. The pile of papers. Oh my goodness, if I could show you my desk right now, I feel you on that. Oh, student of the month. Is that like a poster or a picture up? I love that. Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. Yeah, so we see the idea then with the scavenger hunt is just so we can really see like, yeah, like around us, we're impacted. We're impacted by our spaces. We're influenced. And what's interesting when we think about analyzing influences, I think we tend to like come at it from a negative point of view of like, how do we identify bad influences? How do we get rid of bad influences? How do we keep students away from bad influences? And it can put up a lot of walls to help, and it doesn't necessarily inspire students to really understand the concept of analyzing influences. When in reality, we're constantly being influenced, right? Like, Kimberly, I see your office looks so organized and behind you, and I'm like, I'm looking at this picture, I'm like, oh man, that's influencing me. I'm like, I should, get organized around here. So that's just the reality, right? We're influenced. In the other session I did today, I was telling you about how yesterday I saw like a reel or TikTok or something of a pizza at Trader Joe's, and I'm not the cook in my family. My husband's a cook, and he's working late yesterday. So I'm like, okay, kids, we're going to Trader Joe's. I got to get this pizza I just saw, right? Like I was influenced by that. And that wasn't necessarily like bad or good because I needed food. It wasn't like, it wasn't expensive. It was a $4 pizza. And so the reality is we're influenced all the time. And the more aware we are of that, the more we're aware that how we feel, think, and act is impacted by people and things around us, then we can intentionally engage with those influences or not engage with those influences. So again, that our hands-on learning was this classroom scavenger hunt, and this is a fun activity with students. It's a really fun activity, and I think too, it's like as teachers, it can be validating to see what we're doing in the class and how we have it set up and how it's influencing students. Okay, so connected to this also, to environment, we have the big concept of environmental health. And so our little element of it, what are the environments of my in my life? Like where do I live my life? What spaces do I live my life in? So this is another hands-on learning experience for students where they are looking at what are their environments. This is included on the handout, and it's one of these like circle, big to small circles, so they can visualize, oh, these are the actual spaces I'm living my life in. I exist in these spaces. And at each station, it's not just coloring, there's a specific task that they're doing. and then then they'll put it together. So at the home station, this is one of their environments. They're drawing something to represent their home. It could be outside their home, it could be their bedroom, it could be, a pillow, a stuffy, whatever it is, something that represents their home. At the school, this is kind of similar to the classroom scavenger hunt questions. It's kind of small, but it's questions like, what helps me stay on task? How do I feel in this space? So it's a little bit of a deeper exploration of like, how does my classroom, how does my school impact me? Then the next circle is community. So I love this one. This is so cute because it's like a blank little city, and then the students make it what, represent their community. So this one's actually my own child. I just realized. Um, so they're in our downtown. There is an ice cream shop, and so he drew a little ice. He turned this into an ice cream shop. There's also this like card store where they have all these tables where the kids come and play Pokemon. So he made this into a Pokeball. And I can't this I think is supposed to be his best friend. And so it was really cute. So the kids they identified their community and their spaces. And then Earth, this one was just a coloring one, and then they put it all together. So that was a hands-on way to help them learn about we have environments that we live our life in, and those environments impact how we feel, think, and act. So they're not necessarily diving into all the complexities of environmental health, but they're starting with that simple thing of this is where I live my life. And then they can just build more awareness from there. It's a building block as they go on. Okay, so for our next example, we have um, right here, S, self. So self is all about our emotions, our identity, who are we, our mental well-being, how are we coping, how do we manage things. And so, oh, you know what? I do have to grab something to do this activity from the other room. I'm so sorry. Hold on 1 second. While I'm running to get this, in the chat, I want you to drop in what are concepts you're teaching with your students that connect to this S element of the BEST model. So what are the themes and topics that you're dealing with your students that connect to this self? So emotions, mental health, identity, values, drop that in so we can also have a little bit of a conversation of how does it connect to that S element? So the S being our internal being, our self-esteem. That's good. Okay, I will run and get this balloon 1 second. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. We got self-esteem, zones of regulation, feelings, self-regulation, ability levels, mindfulness, spatial awareness. Okay, I love this. I love this. So we're seeing already how we can ground whatever themes, topics in this best model to just give students a little bit more clarity of how things connect. Okay, so thank you for engaging in that. So our big concept here is emotional regulation. As Kimberly, you're working on zones of regulation, self-regulations, Noel and Jason. So emotional regulation, that's our big concept. Our simple element is that our emotions are like a balloon. All right. And then connected to that is beyond emotional regulation is interpersonal communication. Because to be able to communicate well, we have to regulate our emotions. So we might not dive into like the depths of, intense interpersonal communication, but we're laying the foundation so we can move on a progression. We don't necessarily start at one point. We're having the building blocks. Okay, so our hands-on learning for this is that our emotions are like a balloon. All right. And so what I want you to do is you're going to have to unmute and tell me a scenario or situation that could cause a student to have big emotions. All right. And then I'm going to blow up the balloon to represent, the emotion getting bigger. But give me some examples. What are some things that are going to make students have big emotions?
Their animal passing away.
Mm-hmm.
Problems at home. Food insecurity.
That hurt them.
An illness in the house.
Mm. You can think too of just kind of what gets them to, be dysregulated in class.
Change of
Not
schedule.
fitting in with other students.
Change of schedule.
Mm,
Feeling overstimulated.
yeah.
Not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, that balloon's gonna pop.
Keep going. Maybe a friend knocking over their something creation.
Yep.
Struggling with an assignment.
All right, so that balloon's getting pretty big. We got to take the blurred background off. So what's going to happen if I keep blowing up this balloon?
It's gonna pop.
It's going to pop, right? And right now, can I see anything? Like the balloon is totally blocking my face, blocking my vision, right? So with students for this activity, I had them just tell me what's going to happen, right? Or not, sorry, they tell me things that go on in their life that make them feel big emotions. Things like what you're saying, also smaller things, right? That are big. Like someone didn't play with them. Someone said laughed at them. They did something, they were confused in class, whatever. And so I asked them, okay, what's going to happen to the balloon? And some of them have their hands over their ears because they're worried it's going to pop. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to pop. Just like if our emotions get so big, we pop. Whether that be us like having a breakdown crying, or we yell at someone, or we hit someone, or we run away. So then we talk about, okay, so how do we, and this is where the kids always get a little bit silly because it often sounds like a farting noise. We'll see. How do we release the air from the balloon so that it becomes manageable, or it's just the big feeling's not there anymore? So that visual is so powerful with students, right? It's so powerful because they can see then like, oh yeah, it's getting big. I can feel it's going to pop. What can I do to bring the air down, to release some of that air? So that's the first step of the hands-on learning. Then we do a let it out emotional regulation station. So we're talking about, okay, how you had that balloon that got really big. What are some ways we can let the air out of the balloon so that we can manage that emotion, we can express it, we can process it. So this is also included on the handout. And so here are the stations, or I'll show you we have 5 let it out activities. Breathe it out, draw it out, move it out, talk it out, write it out. All right, and these are the stations. So, and each of these are interactive so that students are practicing the skill or practicing the emotional regulation skill at the station. And then this middle part here, this is like the handout that goes in their notebook. My students all have a composition notebook. Ooh, they have a composition notebook and they put everything in that. And so they'll just put it in there. So for write it out. Oh my, sorry, something just dropped on my my standing desk and I have a long way to go. Okay, there. So for write it out, they are just gonna write out how they're feeling. For talk it out, there's a stack of prompts and it's like, I feel lonely when, and then they need to explain. So it's helping them build those skills of actually being able to share. Move it out was a really fun one that my middle schoolers specifically really liked this one. So they had I had like dance moves and they drew them randomly and they could organize it and they made up a little dance. So just as an example of, hey, sometimes moving our body helps the balloon go down. And then breathe it out. So they have, one of them is, breathe in when you go up, breathe out when you go down. Then they do that, right? And some of them are trying to go like this, like, no, it's calm, it's slow, that, and or the lazy 8. So breathe in on one side, breathe out on the other one, and then a blowing bubbles. But you got to remember to bring bubbles. And then draw it out. So draw a picture of how you feel, or draw, color something to calm down. And so students, they really liked this activity a lot. It's good, and it goes well when you start with the balloon, and now they're understanding, okay, how do I get the balloon to come down? And the language that I used with the middle schoolers, so I did this with elementary and middle school, but the language with the middle schoolers, it's like, with the balloon, it's like, okay, that balloon's getting so big, you're going to crash out. So what's going to keep you from crashing out? So it's just like a little bit of language that connects with them. And then they latched onto that. And then this first little thing here, like they were writing in the balloons, what are your big emotions? Or for the middle schoolers, like, what gets you to feel like you're going to crash out? And then that was a good change of language to fit the middle schoolers, that the elementary students didn't really, that wouldn't have connected with them. And then this is another activity connected to that. It's just a little let it out dice. They can color it, and they can build it into it, like glue it into a cube, and they can roll it. And then as reinforcements, or this was a lesson after doing those other things. What I did with students was they each had their own balloon, and they had a partner, and there was a big stack of cards that I had in the middle, and the cards either had balloons showing an emotion that makes the balloon get bigger, or a let it out where they could release the balloon. So what happened is, one student would have the balloon, the other student would get the card. They would bring the card. If it had a balloon on it and it was an example of a big emotion, they had to blow their balloon. If their teammate got it, then teammate would go back and get another card. If they got a card with a let it out, then they could let out their balloon. So it was a good example, or it was a good way to kind of just reinforce that idea of, our balloon goes up, how can we make it come down? And so some kids kept getting balloons, so they had a really big balloon. A couple kids kept having a let it out, so they had a really small balloon. But it's a great visual and interactive. And since teaching that with students, it's been really cool hearing them use this language, being able to use it at home with my own child, my own children, and even for myself, visualizing okay, I got a lot going on right now. How can I bring this down? So that's the example there. So our fourth example is about T social ties or ties. And our big concept is trusted adults and self-advocacy. Also, you could say accessing resources. That's the big concept, right? We want students to know who their trusted adults are. We want them to be able to advocate to their trusted adults. And the simple element of that is the uh-oh feelings. So being able to identify, ooh, these are my uh-oh feelings. This is a sign that my body is telling me something. That's the simple element that's going to lead to them to be able to access trusted adults, to self-advocate, to access resources. So the hands-on learning example here is a kid's song, and I just need to check my share settings to make sure I'm sharing the sound from my computer. And so this is a song about the uh-oh feelings. It is a song that it can feel a little bit, it's young. It is a kid's song, but honestly, even I think you could show this to kids of all ages, because it's still it is a very kiddish song, but the concept is relevant even for us as adults. So let's listen to the uh-oh feeling song. Can we hear it?
If your heart starts pounding, your hands start shaking, your knees feel wobbly, or your tummy starts aching, if the hair stand up on the back of your neck, if the goosebumps pop up or you start to sweat, if your body starts shaking like you're doing a scared dance, if you feel you might cry or even wet your pants, well, listen to your body, 'cause damn the truth, those feelings in your body has a message for you. It's called the uh-oh feeling. Uh-oh, it means when something's not right and it's time got the uh-oh feeling. Dad, I feel bad, I got the uh-oh feeling. Safety circle, hey, I got the uh-oh feeling. And I know you'll always help me, so I'm telling you why. Uh-oh.
All right, so that's our song, right? And so students have them listen to it, and then we talk about, okay, what are the uh-oh feelings? Heart pounding, hands shaky, knees wobbly, all of these different things. And then so building off of the song, what I had students do is just remember when, like, I gave them a stack of cards, each group a stack of cards that had the uh-oh feelings on it, and they were just talking about when maybe they felt like that. Also, always give students the option of just an example that's not about themselves, right? Because we know, like, there are so many kids in traumatic, harmful situations, so we also want to be mindful of, not forcing kids to share things that they are not ready to share, but so giving that opportunity. And so students, maybe they were talking about the hairs stand up on the back of their neck when it was Halloween and they went to a house that was kind of scary, or they got goosebumps in that, or their heart was pounding really fast when they were gonna go, when they were in a new situation that they didn't know, weren't sure what was going on, or they got a little bit scared because someone yelled at them and it felt like they were gonna cry, whatever it is. So they did this remember when activity where they just reflected. You could also do a matching activity where you have an example of what a scenario that relates to this, and they match, like, the heart pounding to the scenario, things like that. Where they could act it out. You could do charades. You could do lots of different things where they're just building awareness. And then connected to this, you could also do a build a trusted adult, like, kind of superhero activity where students are really understanding, okay, what does a trusted adult look like? Like, how do they respond to what you say? How do you feel when you share with them? How do they talk to you? How do you know you can trust them? And what do they do to help you? How do they support you? These different things. And they can, build this ideal character so they can build an understanding of who is this person. And I mean, the uh-oh feelings, I know that song is, like, quite it's very young, but I think that every age, right? Kids have, we even as adults, we still have these same gut feelings, and it protects us, and still as an adult. And so that song, I think, is so powerful. We could use it at different ages, and sometimes it's just validating, like, yeah, you feel that for a reason, right? And really just stressing that simple point, repeating that simple point, and then modeling what a trusted adult looks like so they know they can trust you, and you're setting a high expectation of other people that they go and trust with information. Okay, so those are the 4 examples that I have to share, looking at, like, what is it that, how do we structure learning experiences so that students are building knowledge and skills now that are going to help them, practice these fundamental skills. If I could find the slide, practice these fundamental skills as they grow up. How do we lay the foundation now? And I am finding a lot of success with students and following this model, like I shared with you. So grounded in the BEST model, whether that be you teaching something specifically from the BEST model or whatever topic you are teaching, using the BEST model to bring some concrete understanding to students, focusing on what's the most simple thing I can take that they're going to understand, hands-on, and then repeating again and again. And the simplicity, I think sometimes as teachers, we try to go too big, and they just need the most basic things, like really the most basic things. Something like the uh-oh feelings, like, that's foundational to everything. Every relationship they have, keeping them safe, the skills of advocacy, skills of communication, influence, all of those things. And so, yeah, that is what I have for you today. And I hope that this framework kind of can maybe inspire or give some ideas of how you could structure your lessons. I also hope the resources that have been provided for you, I hope you can use them in your classrooms. And of course, change them as you need to, whatever works for you. But I hope that they provide, I hope they just help you. I know it's a lot of work. Teaching is a lot of work. You have a big responsibility, and you are helping shape their lives. You're helping them lay a foundation for just a life of hopeful joy and happiness, contentedness. And these, people tend to write off health, but these are the most basic things of our humanity. So thank you very much for tuning in today, for sharing in the chat. Appreciate it. And let me know if you have any questions. Also, if you are wanting more resources on how to teach the health skills, the dimensions of health, please check out projectschoolwellness.com. That's the website. We have a lot of resources, and right now I'm in the process of creating an elementary health curriculum. And so there's a lot of new elementary resources on the website in the curriculum. So if you have the curriculum, be sure to stay tuned, because I'm adding stuff like every week on the email list. And so lots of resources. And yeah, so let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
So Janelle, all of the handouts and the things that you had posted previously throughout the presentation, I know we got the link for the presentation. Are those all included in or on that website that Karen just put up? Or where can I find them?
The website is, to access them, you need the handout.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be
Because
sending, Kimberly, in a few days, you'll get your certificate of attendance, a recording of this, an evaluation, and a one-page handout, which is going to have all the links. The link to the website, but the link directly to, she has it broken down with all of the skill sets and all of the resources that she shared.
Okay.
And Kimberly, I added that in the chat also.
I just see it.
Yeah,
I'm just
Yeah.
Okay.
Michaela, this is a great question, Michaela. Are there suggested grade levels for these specific lessons? I honestly think that you can use them with a lot of different. So the elementary health class I teach is like first and second. So like I'm looking through the things we talked about, like this book. I'm finding that with books, I can show older kids younger books and they still respond really well. Like my older kids, like my elementary kids, I read them a Daniel Tiger book that I also did with the preschoolers. And at first, they're like, we don't like Daniel Tiger. And then they're locked in the whole time. Right? Or like, I have a really good Fancy Nancy book. Fancy Nancy and the Late Late Night for sleep. And so like I bring this in, which is objectively, it's quite feminine and girly, which I love having books like this to expose other kids. And so some of the boys kind of scoffing, and I'm like, no, we're just gonna, we're gonna read it. Books are for everyone, and then they're locked in the whole time. So like I think that you can adapt for most ages. Like most elementary ages, this might be a little bit more complex. Like the classroom scavenger hunt, I think I've done this with my high schoolers, and there's still, it could be, you can change it. It's like, okay, think about your bedroom or the whole school rather than just your classroom. So you can make it work in that sense. This is more elementary. My middle schoolers would still probably be into it just because they're pretty chill. But you can always, add deeper layers. Also, maybe you'll just do it faster than you would do it with elementary. This, any grade level. Any grade level. I haven't done it with my high schoolers yet, but I've done it with my middle schoolers, and I'm going to do it with my high schoolers next week. Because these are they're basic things, right? What it looks like for a kid at a different age is going to be different. Like it's going to be, a much longer journal, or maybe a poem or a song. Some elaborate drawings, or maybe they're writing a comic book. I might not do this with them older just because I know it's just going to get trashed for them, but this activity for sure, any grade. This balloon activity, any grade. the uh-oh feelings again. The song, some of them might think, oh, it's really childish, but I think I probably will show my older kids this also, my middle and high schoolers, because it's so vital at every age, right? So it's definitely designed initially for lower elementary, but I think that you can make stuff work at lots of different ages. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Thank you. I would love, like, I'm always looking for different books too. So like, I don't know if you have like a book list or anything. I mean, I've got a bunch of things, but it's the two that you already said today, I was like writing those down. I'm like, okay, good. Like, it's so nice to know like what, what some of the things that are out there that are being used that could be easily, just put into a lesson that I already have going.
Are you on I don't know if you're on the Project School Wellness email list or not, because I do usually share, every week I also do preschool where I just read a book with them. And so I usually share a book. I have like 100 books that I have pictures of that I have not put on the blog post yet. So I appreciate that feedback, because I know it's good, and I know, I gotta do that, put that at the top of my list, because I agree. I'm always looking for good books that aren't, especially like, there's a lot of books that are they're not a narrative. And I think the kids respond better when it's a narrative like this. So it's not just like, oh, this is why your body needs sleep. It's a story. Like, she stays up late and she doesn't want to play with her friends. And then she realizes, oh, I could have gone to sleep and I still could have done the thing, So it's a good book. It's a good book about sleep. And I'll try to focus more on the books, because I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that feedback.
Now, are a lot of your books on read aloud as well, so that you don't have to buy the book?
I end up buying the books, but oftentimes I can find them on YouTube or something, because I know that's hard. And I also go to the library a lot, but if you're looking for a book like right then and you're not planning ahead, you don't always have it at the library or have access to get it. Yeah.
And I'm just going to interrupt here before we finish up, because I know you're all in the middle of your school day. I want to make sure again that I have everyone who's in attendance here so that we can follow up with the email with everything to send to you. Kimberly, do you have others with you?
So I do, Karen. I've got Rob Gargaros here with me.
Gotcha. I thought so.
Yeah. Tara McAloon was here with another student. My student teacher, Ethan Olivier, is here from URI as well.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. And then Christina Daly, if I could, I'm just sorry for calling you out here, but I don't have you on the registration list, so I don't have an email address. Okay, I'll send a message in the chat and make sure. Yeah, so for everybody else, if it's not tomorrow, it will be early next week that you'll get all of the recording and an evaluation if you could complete that very quickly. And yeah, can't thank you all enough. As Janelle said, I see it, we do at Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition really elevate the role of the health and physical educator everywhere we are, because it's just so critical to everyone, and for developing what's probably the most important thing that young people leave with as they embark on their own adult life is the ability to take care of themselves, both physically, emotionally, and mentally, and certainly in school, the Health Foundation. And I will say, there's been so many studies that, sometimes we hear about, sometimes in the media, questioning maybe SEL or sex ed or whatnot, but the reality is most parents assume and they trust that schools are actually covering all of this with their children, because we know that there's not often a lot of this that sometimes is going on at home. But I loved, who was it? Was in this session? Maybe it was in the one before, where someone said that they start talking about values too, right? Because you can say different families may have different values, and thinking about that when you're making decisions. or thinking about influences. I guess just another question, Janelle, for you, because I always do think about this, how challenging it is for educators, because it really is the relationship with the students, but also the families. Do you have any resources or handouts that maybe go home to families or that, support what the students are learning so, parents or family members are aware of that?
That is a goal to have included with the elementary health curriculum. I've tried doing some stuff in my own, like at the class in my elementary classroom. It's realistically though, it's hard though because it's like parents don't necessarily engage with it. Um, but I have been trying to run some workshops, like parent workshops that kind of connect. So I love the idea of it. I just think it also is like a whole nother element to teaching of cultivating that relationship. I think absolutely if you have the time and energy for it, it's really important, right? Because the parents are the ones that are really gonna, if they can reinforce these concepts and these habits. But yeah, it's tough. Try to, one thing I was kind of trying to have like is questions they could talk about at dinner, and like sending that home. Hasn't really taken off yet though.
Okay, well, thanks so much. Thank all of you. Have a great day and be on the lookout for an email back from us.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.